Here are the 5 hacks that I added to my Notion workspace to help with my undiagnosed ADHD. If you're constantly jumping between pages, start 10 projects and finish none of them, or forget what you were doing mid-task, then this video is for you. Because if Notion is set up the right way, it can help you focus better and complete more tasks. By the end of this video, you'll see the features that you'll want in your Notion to finally let you focus, remember, and finish things without feeling like you're fighting yourself every day. Because if you don't fix this, you'll keep using Notion like a chaotic to-do list app. So here are the 5 hacks that I implemented into my Notion workspace to help with my undiagnosed ADHD. And just to be clear, I don't have any kind of official ADHD diagnosis, it's just something I suspect I have, and I think a lot of you can probably relate to that. Obviously, I'm not giving any kind of medical advice here, I'm just sharing what's helped me focus and stay organized using Notion. And if you genuinely think you might have ADHD, it's worth chatting with a qualified professional about it. Subscribe for Notion tutorials, let's dive in. So this is my template headquarters, but all of the advice I'm going to give today can be used in your own setup. But if you are interested in my all-in-one Notion template, then there's a link in the description. Now the first hack that I do to stay focused is to add my tasks into a task list and label this property here the state of mind property. So a flow task requires about 2 hours, and they're typically cognitively demanding tasks. Then we have quick tasks, which only take a few minutes. We have easy tasks, which are often admin tasks and don't take too long. And then we have personal tasks like seeing a friend or something. And what I like to do is label which state of mind do these tasks require. Because now when I'm planning out my day, so let's just add all of these today, I ensure that I stick to a very specific rule, which has helped with my focus a lot. The rule is you can only have 2 flow tasks per day. If a flow task requires about 2 hours, and your brain can only handle 4 hours of full cognitive effort per day, then you'll want to limit yourself to 2 flow tasks per day. So what I can do then is drag one to the next day. If you're like me, you probably have a lot of energy one day, and then the next day you're exhausted, and then the next day you have full energy, and then the next day you're exhausted again. And this up and down cycle can wear you down. So ensuring I only have 2 flow tasks in a day, I create a sustainable calendar. Now, because you might be dramatically cutting down your task list, this will require you to get good at prioritizing. And to make that simpler, I use these importance and urgency properties. So there's important, not important, and move the needle. And then in urgency, we have urgent, not urgent, and habit. These here were partly inspired by the Eisenhower matrix. So what I'll do here is say task 3 is not important and not urgent, as an example. Then let's make task 1 here important, but let's say it's not urgent. As you can see, it actually jumps up in the queue. So task 1 is sitting now above task 3. That's because this here is important. Let's make task 2 though, not important, but it is urgent. As you can see, that jumps up in the queue above task 1. That's because urgent tasks should be done before important tasks. And then lastly, task 4 here, let's say that's important and it's urgent. As you can see, it jumps up to the top of this queue. So that's set up under this order tab here. And what I'm doing here is using these sorting rules to help me out. And I also have these filter rules here as well. So what I'm doing here is getting good at prioritizing my task list. And stuff like task 3 here that's not important and not urgent, you know what, it's probably something that's not worth doing. And I can find all of those tasks in this low tab as well. So when I'm planning out my day, what I want to do is take tasks from the top of this list. So task 4, 2, and 1, we'll do them before we do task 3. And obviously because task 3 here is not important and not urgent, what we could do is even remove it by clicking clear on the date so it no longer shows up in my calendar. By prioritizing and removing tasks, it will make our day feel less overwhelming. Now, speaking of feeling overwhelmed throughout the day, one of the best productivity techniques that I started doing was planning out my day. So this daily planner system here helps me a lot. Now, there's 2 ways of doing this. You could either start with a flow state task, which some call eating the frog, or of course you can start with an easy task. Or if you want, you could even start with a quick task just to really get the ball rolling. So depending on how your brain works, you might want to start with the easier ones and then move on to the harder ones, or you can get the difficult stuff over with first and then after lunch do the easier stuff. And planning out your day here will remove this question of what am I meant to be working on right now? So we'll say this is 9 a.m. This is a flow state, so it will take about 2 hours. We'll make that 11 a.m. Then let's say we have lunch here at 1 p.m. We'll do this quick task at 2 p.m., let's say, and then this easy task here at 2:15 p.m. So now because I have my day planned out, my brain no longer has to try and figure out what I should be doing in that moment. I have a clear game plan here for my day. And when you're working on these tasks, one thing I find useful is to fill out the bucket and the project. And there's one main reason I like to do this. So I'll just say all of these here are to do with my job. and I'll say the project here, let's just make up a project called project 1, and I'll add that to all of these projects here. The reason I do this is so I can concentrate when I'm working on this project. So when I'm working on task 2 here, which is to do with project 1, I can open up this project. I will only see the relevant information to project 1. So that will be the tasks, notes, and bottlenecks that are relevant to this project. The problem with most task systems and note systems is that we're seeing every single task that we have, and we're seeing every single note that we have. But if you're working on this project, you don't want to be distracted by those other projects. And what you can do in Notion is use filters to say, I only want to see the stuff that's relevant to a specific project. This has been a game changer for my focus. I'll show you how notes work for projects as an example. Let's just take a note here, note 1, blah, 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 and I'll say the life bucket here is the job and my project here is this project 1. When I've taken this note, I can click away. That note won't fall into a void like most note systems, but when I'm working on this project 1 here and I have that page open, I'm going to see the relevant note. I don't have to open up a note app and get distracted with every other thing that I've ever written. Now the last one here is a bit unconventional, but it truly changed my life. So what you'll do is tick off the tasks as you're completing them. And when it's time for you to reflect, whether that's at the end of the day or end of the week or end of the month, whatever it is, you can open up this Move the Needle page. And in here, you can see all tasks. And what you'll want to do here is label the tasks that have moved the needle. In other words, the 20% of tasks that have had 80% of the impact. So lunch here probably didn't move the needle for me. But let's say this hypothetical task 4 here did. So what I'll do is change it to Move the Needle. And on this Move the Needle tab here, I'll end up with a list of tasks that really mattered. See, one thing I struggle with is doing a task and not knowing if it matters or not. But if I know that this task in the past has had a big impact, I know that it's worth doing because it moved the needle in the past. So hopefully it will have a big impact again. And if you stick to this Move the Needle system for a while, you'll have this long list here of tasks that you know are worth doing. That way, next time you plan your day, you know the tasks that are worth doing before you've even done them. I hope you found those 5 hacks useful. There's a link in the description to my template, or if you want to check out the full tour, then you can click on this video here, where I dive into absolutely everything that this template has to offer. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you found this useful.